Vonnie EC, another trucker. Shout out to all the subscribers. And if you're new, welcome to the channel. Just something that just came to my mind real quick, man, before I get ready to head out. I passed a level 2 inspection. Yeah, I passed a level 2 inspection carrying hazmat in a tanker. This actually was last week though. This ain't the first time, that I've had to go through inspections with DOT. But this particular inspection, it felt pretty good, you know what I mean? But, felt pretty good to pass. Because you don't know what DOT be having up their sleeve, man. It's all really subjective with them. I don't really think, you just never know with them, you know what I mean? So, yeah, it was a way station on I-30 going west in Texas. Because when you're coming through Arkansas, it's 2 way stations before you get to this way station. The first way station, I think, is closed. Then the second way station is definitely open. And then this third way station, I know on the signs coming up to it, it says CMV. And then like right before you pull in, they got a sign. And basically the sign says, if the lights is blinking, all trucks are supposed to pull in. That one. So if you're familiar with driving up and down this road, this interstate, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, man, I got pulled in there last week. And, I happened to be one of the lucky ones that had to get a inspection done. And the DOT inspector happened to be an old white man. So, I mean, I hate to throw race into it, but, we got to look at all the variables, you know what I'm saying? So, he was an older white guy. So in my head, I just already knew I was in for it. But, I know how to deal with law enforcement. You know what I'm saying? I grew up having to face and deal with law enforcement on the regular. So being in the face of police and law enforcement, I know how to handle that with finesse. You know what I'm saying? So, facing a DOT officer, man, I deal with them the same way. I give them the respect, courtesy. Hey, how you doing, sir? How everything going today? Oh, everything's going fine. You know what I mean? That type of shit. Try not to give them no attitude because they looking for the smallest things. I personally grown to believe that it ain't all about the truck. Sometimes it's about the driver and the driver's attitude. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, so they had me pull on over to the side. He comes, asks me for my license, and he begins the process on the level 2 inspection. He checking out the truck all the way around. Checking my lights and all that different type of stuff. You got level 1, level 2, level 3. If I'm not mistaken, level 1 is the most intense inspection. That's when they really pull you, into the garage and all that. So he checking me out. So he finally comes to the door. You know what I'm saying? He asked me for my paperwork, my logs. But as he stepped in, I got the door open or whatnot. So he kind of, stepped on the steps. I got all my paperwork in the door. You know what I mean? I got my permit book in the door, and I got my my BOL in the door. And one thing that we was taught, or that I was taught doing this hazmat, especially like when we was taught on orientation, your BOL, when you carrying hazmat, like especially when your tank is got placards on it, you supposed to keep your BOL inside, inside your emergency response book. And you supposed to keep your BOL, like whatever type of product that you hauling, You're supposed to see what type of product that you hauling and put your paperwork in between the page that identifies with that product. So, you know, when the DOT officer was, you know, kind of on the steps of my truck, everything he asked me for, boom, boom, bam. You know what I'm saying? Permit book, bam. Paperwork inside the book on the page, bam. And even when I'm showing him my permit book, you know, I got extra placards. You know what I'm saying? So, what else? You know, I was able to show him my logs checked out. What else did he ask me for? That's really about it as far as the paperwork. But I just remember, like, man, as he going through it, so he just kind of stopped. You know what I'm saying? He kind of stopped and just nodded his head after I showed him all my paperwork. He just stopped and he just nodded his head like, you know what? I don't really see too many drivers they be having their paperwork organized like this. Like, I don't see drivers that have their paperwork in the book like they supposed to. I don't see drivers that keep extra placards like they supposed to. He was like, man, he just nodded his head. You know what I'm saying? Like in astonishment. So he was like, give me a few minutes. Go back, do this paperwork, write all this stuff up. So, you know, like I say, this was an older guy, so it took him a while. I was sitting out there, felt like for like 30 minutes. It was like 2 or 3 other trucks that was getting inspected. I was the last one to get done. So he finally came back. He was like, hey man, everything checked out. You're all good. And you know, he just kept complimenting me on the way that I had my stuff organized. And you know, he gave me dap. He gave me dap. Told me, you know, be safe on the road. I'm like, hey man, you too, you know, whatever. So that was a pleasant experience with the DOT. But it was another time as well, I got pulled into the weigh station and actually had a level 1 done. This was in Tennessee. I can't remember the exit, but this was, man, where was this at, man? Was it on I-65? It was somewhere in Tennessee. I can't really remember, but pulled me in. Once again, you know, treat the DOT officer with respect. Hey, how you doing? Everything's fine. You know, you try not to give him an attitude. This was it. Once again, this was a white guy. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't old. He probably was my age or probably a little bit younger. But they pulled me in. You know, he didn't have a foul disposition. So once again, same thing. He going through the truck, checking my brakes. You know the system if you ever been pulled over, had any of these inspections. Same old process, but this one was a level 1. Same thing. Gave him all my paperwork. He was shocked that my paperwork was together. You know what I'm saying? Now with him, I actually had to send him my logs. Had to email him my logs from my tablet with the level 2 inspection that I just had last week in Texas. He just looked at the logs. He didn't have me send them in to him or nothing like that. But yeah, back to Tennessee. So yeah, he was astonished. You know what I'm saying? He same thing. Like, wow, you know what I mean? You actually got your paperwork inside the book on the page. You know what I'm saying? On the page that identifies the product that you're carrying. And he was just like, yeah. Unfortunately, out of all the things that he possibly could have wrote me up for, I did fail the inspection because I had a brake light. That was out on the trailer. But he gave me a chance, you know what I'm saying? He gave me a chance to fix it, just told me, hey, you know, if you however you find out how to fix it, handle that, you can go on about your business. But I initially failed, you know what I'm saying? So I was out of service until I figured out the problem and ended up figuring out that it was a blown fuse. The fuse box. I had to change the fuse that was in the fuse box under the hood in the engine or whatnot. But it probably took me about an hour to figure that out. Because at first I was trying to figure out, like, damn, do I got to call a shop or somebody come and fix this? Is this a real serious problem? But come to find out, it was just the fuse. You know what I'm saying? So I take full accountability for that. You know, that's why we supposed to do our pre-trip. Sometimes we take things for granted, you know, with our pre-trip. So that was my fault. But he was cool about it, man. Once I figured it out, I went and got him. He ain't even come back to the truck to check it out. He was like, man, I believe you, man. You good. You know what I'm saying? I trust you. And that was that. And I didn't like failing that, you know what I'm saying? But I've heard of worse experiences. You know, I didn't heard of, you know, some of the smallest things being discovered by some of these DOT officers, man, and they making these truckers, they putting them out of service and then making them go back to their terminal to get the little problem fixed, which ain't nothing, and then have to come back to their way station to get back in service. You know what I'm saying? Little shit like that. So even though I initially failed that level 1 inspection in Tennessee, I guess I couldn't be mad because he could have been bogus. You know what I'm saying? He could have been real bogus about it. So, yeah, them the times, you know, especially during this hazmat tanker, you know, that I done had to face DOT inspections. So, the only advice I can offer, man, you know, you don't know what's going on with any one of these DOT officers. You know, like I say, it's all subjective. People pick and choose what they want to be picky and choosy about. But one thing that I seen that was relative through both of these experiences, both of these DOT officers was impressed by how I had my paperwork organized. You know, they asking me for shit. I don't have to get up out of my seat looking for shit. Everything is where it's supposed to be. So my advice, if you're doing hazmat, especially if you doing general freight drive-in and you got a hazmat load, you know, make sure you check your BOL and keep your papers organized. Keep, you know what I mean? If you placard it, make sure you got your paperwork. You find out what product you hauling and make sure you got your paperwork inside the page that identifies what you hauling. You know what I'm saying? And keep your permit book and all that shit together. Keep everything within arm's reach. That way you ain't got to be getting up out your truck. I mean, getting up out your seat looking for shit because they looking at that. You know what I'm saying? They looking at how you keep your truck, your organization. So, I'm not saying that that's a for sure thing that's going to keep you out of trouble. But I just noticed that, you know, in both these situations with these DOT officers in 2 different states, they both was impressed with how I had my paperwork. And for those particular situations, like I say, one of the DOT inspections I passed and the other one I didn't. And the one that I didn't, he could have been a real asshole about that, but he wasn't. So, I don't know. So that's just a little food for thought, man, moving forward. But I ain't gonna hold y'all too long. Vonnie, see another trucker, man. Y'all keep it trucking. Be safe out there. Gone.